You're listening to the Play Pouch. Welcome back, everyone. It's been a couple of weeks, and I think we all know why it's been a couple of weeks. You've
Blame
been
blame Rebirth, Pete. Blame Final Fantasy Rebirth. That's my excuse.
Final Fantasy Rebirth, yeah. I haven't got a PlayStation, so I've been watching Maximilian Dude play it. More on that in another podcast. But
hmm
so for this podcast, we're talking about some disturbing, sort of relatively disturbing news. And we're going to be talking about CIG, in other words, Cloud Imperium games and the Star Citizen. And we're going to be talking about their game, Star Citizen as a whole, and how far it's come, etc., etc. But before we do, if you like our podcasts, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and click the bell. Leave a lovely comment and give us a thumbs up if you like our work. So let's dive right in. Now, Star Citizen has been in development for 12 years.
I remember the Kickstarter, Pete. I
Yeah,
remember it because it was a Kickstarter around about the same game called Dangerous Elite Dangerous. And
yeah.
the reason I remember that is because they are both kind of similar games, kind of space exploration games. I ended up backing Elite Dangerous and not Star Citizen. I think I might have made the right choice. At least that
You
game
might
came.
have, yeah,
At
you
least that
might
game
have.
came out.
It's amassed an incredible $667,000 million dollars
Crazy,
since its
crazy.
inception, and they've just laid off some staff. Now they've done it in a rather sneaky way. Now, and this is sort of continuing with our mass layoffs theme.
Hmm.
Our previous podcast, but one, we talked about Ubisoft and Microsoft laying off staff. Just recently, Sony PlayStation and EA.
You remember that? What are they called? Is it the company who owns all those studios who have cancelled all those games? You remind me, we did a video on it last video on it, wasn't it? Embracer Group. There you go. Sorry, Pete. Just thought I'd remember for you.
Yes, the Embracer Group, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a really turbulent time for the games development industry, and CIG and Star Citizen are the latest. Now, as I said, they have done it in a rather sort of sneaky way. They've relocated their UK office to Manchester, and they didn't really give staff any notice. And those who couldn't sort of make the change were let go. There's quite a lot of higher up people that have left. So we've got the game director, Todd Pappy. A lot of people are gone. It's a shitty thing to do, especially when you've got 660 fucking odd million. So I feel like we should give a little bit of a history about this Star Citizen game, because as I said, it's over 12 years.
Well, you know more about it than me. Like I said, I remember it initially, and I remember all the stand up stuff because, like I said, I was around Kickstarter at the time, backing a couple of projects. So I remember the start, and I've heard news throughout the years, but I haven't followed it probably as closely. I mean, I haven't played it, and I know that you played some of it, haven't you?
Yes,
So
yes.
I haven't. You'll have to kind of guide me a little bit on this because you probably know more about history than myself, or probably a lot of the viewers do. So.
So basically, it was designed as a space simulator, and it's a game where I wouldn't say micromanage, but like you can go into first person, you can go into third person, and explore the universe that they set up, and you can buy ships, and you can do things like
Oh yeah.
mining and mercenary missions, and you can also be like a pirate and all that kind of thing. Now, the scope of it is so huge that they've had to design unique systems, back-end systems, basically can run the thing in a fluid way. And if you asked some other developers who were doing a similar thing, like some people from Elite Dangerous maybe,
Hmm.
they would say, well, you could achieve that, but in a different way to how they've been doing it, Cloud Imperium. So there's that to be said for it, but then there's also the fact that the reason why Cloud Imperium are doing it this way is because it's never been done this way before, and they want the prestige of being able to say, "Oh well, we've built like a Ready Player One type game."
Mm.
Right? I think that's their lofty goals here. The man behind the whole thing, Chris Roberts, doesn't have the best track record before Star Citizen.
What
He's
did he make
tried to
before it?
Times of Law, and his first game was King Kong at the age of 13, and
13. Okay, bloody hell.
Bad Blood, Wing Commander.
He was a part of Wing Commander.
Yeah, he developed Wing Commander.
Ah, see that now that I have played. That had Mark Hamill in it. That did.
Yeah. So he's done some stuff. Some of it's been successful, some of it hasn't been. And so this is a really lofty, really big goal that he's trying to achieve here, and he's trying to do it via brand new sort of technology, and that's kind of, I think, is part of the problem, because he has spent all this time investing these new systems, and it's I think he's overpromised things in the 12 years. He said, "Oh, this will be out and ready by then." It hasn't been. He's made a whole number of these promises which hasn't come to fruition, and I think that's just literally just because that he's not sort of experienced enough to say, "Oh, well, it's going to take a lot longer." And yeah, so
Hmm.
the problem we have at the moment is that is this all these systems going to be working and ready? And for the 12 years, there's only really been one star system in the game, and I mean, like, towards the end of last year, we've had some updates. They've put in gateways to new star systems. So it looks like things are chugging along. Now the problem is that I think he's bitten off more than he can chew,
Just a bit.
because he's been trying to develop this persistent universe as well as a campaign called Squadron 42. I think he's been sort of working on a couple of other bits as well. So I think he's trying to manage both of them. And for me, I just thought that was a really bad idea. I think you need to sort of focus on one thing and then the other. And I think they started to do that after a few years. And they put all their effort in on Squadron 42. And now it seems that they're at the end of the development of Squadron 42, because they've allocated a number of staff back into working on the persistent universe. And on top of all this, they have to expend resources keeping us updated. So they have this weekly or monthly show and stuff like that, which has got to cost money. And these ships as well is a big thing, because they keep developing these new ships and producing them, putting them in the game, selling them, and Star Citizen is very notorious for selling like ships that are
Uh,
like thousands of pounds,
and
basically.
this is my biggest, me personally. This is where I have the biggest problem with them. The game looks promising. I heard the hype like you did. I didn't buy into it as much as I did Elite Dangerous, because in Elite Dangerous, for me, they didn't promise the world. They promised a smaller game, an in-depth game, but a smaller game.
Yeah,
And Elite Dangerous is not my favorite game. For me, it ended up being okay, but it came out with issues, and I never really got into it as I thought it was. So I can't sit here and say that Elite Dangerous is this amazing game, because it didn't hook me, but it came out and everything like that, and they've generally stuck with it. With this, I don't know. He seemed to promise. I think I saw it as well. I think it was a bit too much, and it just grew out of control. And this whole ship stuff, dude, I'm really dead against it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shitty way of running the company. And you can sort of arguably say, well, it could be one big scam. Um, there was a developer or ex-developer which posted a huge Reddit post saying that they spent loads of money on their offices and decking it out with stuff rather than using those resources to further develop the game or whatever.
I can believe it.
Apparently, there's a toxic culture going on there as well. So you have to take all of this with a
You
little
do,
bit of
yeah, yeah, you do.
but see, at the end of the day, the game visually looks fantastic, and the level of immersion in the game is second to none. You will not find another game which is this immersive in terms of space travel. Um, the fact that you start off at a planet and you have to take a tram or a train to the docking at the space dock.
Pete, if I can just throw in a little bit of sarcasm here, are there vehicles in the game? Would you have to run about for ages like in Starfield?
There are vehicles. There are ground vehicles. There's a
Well,
lot
that
of
that
ground vehicles.
alone makes it a better game than Starfield already because they actually have vehicles that you might expect.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so you have to go onto a train to the spaceport, then you call your ship, and then you take a lift to the actual your docking area where it's been posted to. You jump on your ship, which is a whole sort of it can be as big as you want depending on the ship you've got, and you head into the cockpit and you take off, and you in real time you leave the planet and you can go to a space station or you can get on with what you want to be doing, and it's so immersive. And I have to hand it to them in terms of you have to keep an eye on your hunger and your thirst, and they're bringing in new mechanics where you have to shower regularly, otherwise you start losing stats and you become smelly and stuff. um, so there's this whole sort of ecosystem, if you like, and what they've got and done so far is impressive. I have to hand it to them. The issue is that after 12 years, I think people are sort of a little bit burnt out. There's still some loyal followers, dedicated people, and I would guess that my brother and me are one of them, are two of them, and we do want it to succeed. We do want it to be sort of a successful title, because if it is successful and they do whatever it is they say they're going to do, it's going to be a legendary game.
I mean, if you've spent money on the ships, Pete, and I don't know if you have or not, but if the people who have spent money on the ships, especially if you spent a lot of money,
Mm.
then I mean, you're gonna. Is there a way to get your money back?
Well,
I'm assuming not. Like if you bought a ship 5 years ago for whatever, whenever, and the game's still not out, and you're like, you know what, I want my money back. I've not been able to play the game still. Can you get your money back?
I would say that if if the game doesn't come into fruition, then there could be one massive court sort of thing where people sort of will force them to give
And
refunds and stuff.
why did they feel they needed to do that? I know that this is my big gripe, right? So this is why I'm after a bit more information. Why did they feel the need to do this? Didn't they have enough funding? They had 700 million. You just told me they need more.
Uh, I think it's just because of the way it was managed in the early years. I think that as I mentioned, he bit off more than he can chew, and realised that things were going to take a hell of a lot longer than he promised. And I think it's just only now starting to gain traction. This is my sort of overall point. I do believe just because Squadron 42 does seem to be coming to the end of its development, and a lot of people have been pushed over to the actual persistent universe, which is what I'm interested in. And not only that, but they spent a lot of money hiring, like, A-list stars. You've got the bird that was in X-Files. Who's that female? Scully.
Gillian Anderson.
Gillian Anderson. Yeah, she's in the single player campaign. Mark Hamill's in the single player campaign. Gary Oldman, I think, is in it as well. There's a lot of top A-list stars, and I think they spent a lot of money doing that. So it's a mismanagement issue, I feel, and I think it's only now that they are starting to sort of produce the results that people are wanting them to produce. I mean, in November, I think it was, they had their Citizen Con, and what they showed off was like a working build of new systems, new mechanics, new UI, and a new map layout, which looks absolutely fantastic. So it
When you
does look
say
like it's going to
when you
happen.
say a new map, Pete, because obviously if it's going to be a space simulator, then you need multiple. Really, you might want multiple galaxies, but that's probably asking a bit too much, considering.
Well,
But
no, that's what they were always planning to do, is
multiple
multiple galaxies.
galaxies, not solar systems, galaxies.
Well, I think it's one massive galaxy, but there's a whole ton of solar systems, right?
And
So
these
each solar systems
uh,
have like about.
these can't be all handcrafted though. That's just too much, surely.
No,
They've all
it's
got
it's procedural generation with hand placed stuff,
okay.
right? But then there's a number of procedural entities as well. So it's a mix of the both.
No, that's fine. Just as long as obviously, because the two examples obviously in my mind is No Man's Sky and then Starfield.
Yeah.
And even though No Man's Sky is the better, well, space sim, it is the better space sim, that still has similar issues regarding there's not enough of the handcrafted stuff. Both games, Starfield is even worse in that degree, but both of the games I'd say needed more handcraft stuff on their planets. And what would concern me is that when you're talking about all these multiple solar systems and stuff, how long is it before you get the duplicates?
Well, see, there's certain areas. I mean, you have things like um, how to put it. There's sort of planet side space, like terminals where you can land and sort of trade and do all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There is underground bunkers where you have to sort of complete missions. There's crashed ship sites and stuff like that. There's settlements. So they are progressively sort of adding more and more to the planet's surface. Um, but its main gimmick is being able to, like No Man's Sky, go from space to a planet in a very seamless way. The only difference is that the graphics are a hell of a lot better than No
No
Man's
Man's Sky,
Skies.
yeah. Yeah.
And visually, it just looks absolutely stunning. The volumetric clouds and stuff like that.
I'd like to think also No Man's Sky, like I say, there's a lot of stuff it does really well, but when it comes to like alien designs and stuff like that, I don't think that's not its particular strong point. So if Star Citizen can do a much better job
Yeah,
in creating the world, so to speak. So in No Man's Sky, it's impressive for what it is, but it's hard to, there's very, very few settlements in No Man's Sky. In No Man's Sky, you get there's like normally a couple of bases, if that, and you'll get a couple of smaller settlements. But there isn't. It's very unpopular in No Man's Sky. Most of the planets are very, very unpopulated.
yeah.
Which, how realistic is that? I don't know. But I'm hoping that in this, at least there's going to be some cities on these planets.
Oh, there's cities already. I mean, like, there's a planet which is one big city. It's just like a huge city, basically. It's just like the whole planet.
But you can't have these on random planets, can you? That'd be impossible to do.
Well, no, there's dedicated cities on planets, but then there's also settlements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The thing that sort of makes this game stand out from the others is the fidelity of the graphics and the fluidity of how everything transfers, for space combat down into planet side combat, and then you landing on the planet, and it looks like seriously fucking impressive. Um, so in that regard, it's a lot more immersive, and it is this is all in real time. Like if you want to go from one planet to another planet, and it's on the other side of the solar system, that's going to take like 20 minutes. So you go and you select the planet you want to go to, and you go into warp, and that warp's going to be 20 minutes. So you can leave the cockpit and walk about the ship, and like have a rest, and like have a drink, and sit down, whatever.
Can
So
that be
this,
can that be filtered?
what do you mean?
Some people are gonna like that. Some people are gonna hate it, and the ones who don't want that, can they filter it? So like, can you do like like in Starfield where it's like rest for 20 minutes? Do you know what I mean?
They haven't integrated that yet, but I dare say they will.
Okay.
But that's the half of the reason why people love this game, is because of the simulation, the whole sort of real life thing. It's like you actually have to wait for the warp to take you there and stuff like that. There's probably going to be ships that will do it faster, and I mean, like, there's already that in the game. There's bigger ships that can do it quicker. You can swap out components for the ship to make things go faster, and better weapons and stuff like that. You've got things like mining and all kinds of stuff. But I'm cautious about it, but I'm also very optimistic and hopeful. If they deliver what they said they were going to deliver in the last CitizenCon this year, which is what they said, or the next fiscal year, then I'm in a better state with how I feel about them. But if they don't, then I'm going to be annoyed, and I think a lot of other people are going to be annoyed as well.
Well, I'll defend the Star Citizen a little bit here, even though I have big problems with what they've done regarding how they've got their finances. The difference is, I suppose, like, let's use an example that's just come out, Skull and Bones. Literally, that was probably started being made about the same time. The difference is that was kind of kept under wraps mostly, whereas with Star Citizen, it's all been out in the open more or less from the start. So the wait feels longer than, for example, Skull and Bones, because Skull and Bones, like, the best you got when they started developing Skull and Bones is, Ubisoft might be making a game based on the naval combat of Black Flag, and that's kind of all it was for a good 5 years. And only then did they start showing gameplay. I mean, the gameplay was crap, but the point being is, with Star Citizen, it's been there from day one. Do you know what I mean? So I think, granted, 11, 12 years for any game is excessive, make no mistake about it. But like I say, we've seen Skull and Bones, we've seen other games that have had to change their design halfway through. Yeah. Unfortunately, with Star Citizen, it's been kind of open to the public right from the start. So, and I like that to a certain degree, because that transparency is good. But I think also it's obviously he's wearing his heart on his sleeve also. So every mistake that's being made is for everybody to see, so to speak.
It's a double-edged sword, I think, having constant updates, because it feels longer. And these 12 years feel like 24 years, So in one way, yes, it's a good thing, because we're being kept up to date with how they're dealing with things. They've got this new thing that they're integrating called server meshing, which no other game has ever attempted to do before, because it's just too difficult. And basically how it works is that by the time they're done, there won't be such a thing as being kicked off the server. You'll never be kicked off a server, and hopefully the game will never crash. So this is like cutting edge technology they're trying to bring in here, and that's clearly where most of the money has gone. And once they have all those systems set in place, then I think the development of things is just going to be more and more quick and rapid, because they've already showed off how they can produce a sort of an environment, or like a dungeon, if you want to call it that, with relative ease and speed. So I mean, you know.
Do you not feel like they maybe should have taken a little bit like, for example, Warframe, where their version of the game comes out, and then these features that he wants to add, you add it via patches or via smaller expansions over time, but rather he's just kind of delayed it, and I think that there's a terminology called like feature creep, and it's like more features coming and more features coming, but at some point, and maybe because he's the big cheese, he hasn't got this in front of him, and maybe these so-called suits who kind of come in and step in are kind of against these kind of creative types, but sometimes they've got to kind of throw the hammer down and say, look, release the game as is. It's not got everything that you want in it, but it's the first step, and then you add to it over time. The work continues, rather than just keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it and delaying it because this feature's not quite in yet, and then somebody will come up with another feature and then he'll want to add that. At some point you have to kind of say, this is the base game, it's not the final version of the game, but this is the base game, so I'm going to release it, so you guys will get, all the people who've funded this thing will get some version of the game, with obviously the promise that you add features as you go. That's what a game like Warframe, which is still quite popular, it's kind of lived and died on that. The base game was what it was, but they keep adding stuff and adding stuff and adding stuff. I don't know. That's what they did.
This is what they've done, though, isn't it? That's what the persistent universe is, and always has been for 12 years. It's like, well, this is what we've got so far. Play it, enjoy it. There's going to be some bugs and things aren't complete and stuff like that. And that's exactly what they've done. So we're craving a better sort of experience, basically. And the issue is that they've been trying to battle a number of different things. They've been trying to develop this single player thing, as well as this persistent universe thing, which is like a massively multiplayer online.
But that's something I don't get, mate. I gotta be honest with you. Like, focus on one thing, right? What you're doing.
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah. Why did you think that you could develop both things at the same time, when you should have really just, as you said, just like focus on one thing? And you know, I truly believe that it's come to the point now, finally, that they can put a lot more effort into the persistent universe. I think they've realized that they've been quite silent over the persistent universe for the past few years because they've been working on Squadron 42. And so, yeah, I mean, like, if they implement what they say they're going to implement, then wow, I can't wait. The new UI, the new map system, and the quality of life stuff just looks really exciting.
Well, the way they're doing it, like I said, I don't like it. It does remind me of, I mean, other games do it. It's not exclusive to Star Citizen. These things called early access. It sounds like to me is that Star Citizen's been in early access for about 10 years, 8 to 10 years probably. It's been in an early access state. And do I buy early access games? No. Do I put money towards them? No, because you don't know exactly the final game. So anyone who does that, I think, I mean, it's their money, it's your money, it's their money, do what you want. But I don't know, it's just like, you put in a lot of faith, and maybe that's the word, in someone to finish their job. And they don't always. I'm not saying they never do, but sometimes they don't.
Well, I feel like they've gone past the point of no return. So I feel like they have to complete it now. And if they don't, then there's going to be a shitstorm they wouldn't believe.
He might agree with you. The guy who's created it, and he might agree with you. He might have wanted to bolt many years ago, but he realizes that his fucking career is over if he does. So maybe he's kind of like, And I bet if you ask him, he probably won't admit this publicly, but I bet if you privately asked him, is this what you expected when you first did your Kickstarter? No way. No,
I don't think that it would have gotten. He would have thought it had gotten this big. So yeah, I mean, I have a hope for it. I want it to succeed. I don't want it to fail. I mean, I've put 120 quid in it, so like.
And that is a lot, obviously, for you and me. But there's people. hundreds of grand, Pete. You've heard stories, I have. You've heard the stuff.
Yeah, and they've got a package at the moment where you can buy every ship for like, I think it's like this 20 grand package or something like that.
So doesn't that make you? Isn't that just?
Yeah, I don't like
Crazy.
the fact that they've been focusing on shipbuilding. It's just like, dude, just quit it with the shipbuilding, right? There's enough for now. Just focus on the game, on developing the game, ironing out all the bugs, all the inventory bugs, fucking irritating, and just finish the game. Give us like 10 star systems and release it, and then give us incremental updates and stuff, but have a polished core version. And this is what I want. So yeah, fingers crossed it will happen. But it's been a very turbulent time for them. The fact that they've laid off an unspecified number of people, and they did it in such a shitty way, isn't a great look at all. I'm a bit sort of upset at them for that. There's a lot of sort of decent way of life for people that's been lost because of this. And
Pete, I've got to ask you whether or not he's mentioned this. Like I say, you follow it more than I do. What is the post-launch support? Is it going to be an MMO where you got to pay monthly, or is it going to be microtransactions based? It sounds like they're leading maybe towards that. But if the game comes out, as he said, well, we have to keep the lights on, right? We have to keep the servers, and we've got to maintain the game, and obviously you have to hire people to do that. So it's going to be on costs. So how is he going to cover those costs? Is it microtransactions, or is it going to be like an MMO membership where it's 10 quid a month or whatever?
I don't know. It's the state of MMOs at the time, I think, because I think what's been happening with MMOs in general is that a lot of them have gone free to play, because this whole sort of like pay monthly concept is not working anymore. The World of Warcraft is kind of like, it's a bit been there, done that. And
the Elder Scrolls Online have a you can still play the game without it, but you're very much encouraged. And if you don't play the game without ESO Online, I think you get stuff like limited inventory space and all these kind of quite horrible things if you really think about what they're doing there. Quite horrible things where they're saying, well, you haven't got to pay us, but you probably should if you really, really want everything. Is it going to be like that?
I mean, if they do integrate something like that, then they're probably going to be very generous to the supporters, the backers. So like if you've given them money before and stuff like that, then they'll give you an easier time with it. But if you're like a new player, then I mean, I don't know. They could probably do a mixture of both. I mean, as you said, they have to keep the lights on, so maybe I think it's more likely going to be microtransactions and stuff like that.
Well, it's another thing. Is it going to be free to play, or is it going to be a 60 quid game?
I can't imagine it's going to be a 60 quid game, to be honest. I mean, like, it might be, and then you get access to everything, and then if you want like to buy ships up front with real cash, then you can, stuff like that, which people are going to do. Like armor sets and stuff.
I'm gonna, just because it is for a genre which obviously I'm very interested in, it doesn't change the fact that these business models are generally shitty. Even though I do understand that yes, they got to keep the lights on, but it's going to be exploited no differently than any other live service game and MMOs do. So if people are okay with that, I guess they are. I mean, MMOs are still viable. Not many. Granted, there's nowhere near as many as there used to be, but
mate, I'm telling you this right now, right? You're going to love it. If it comes to the fruition that Chris Roberts wants it to come to, you are going to love it.
Maybe so, but he'll never get money off. He'll never get that much money off me.
That's fine.
The most he'll get off me would be a monthly subscription, and the price of probably the base game if I've got to pay for it.
Yeah.
But that's me, because I think it's a little bit of a mugs game, right? I haven't got that kind of money to throw around.
Yeah.
If people want to spend 10 grand on stuff, then I mean, each of their own. But I'm just saying that just because I might enjoy the game, it does not stop me feeling that this is more of the bullshit with the live service stuff. Even though I know this was started to develop way before most of the live services came, I am aware of that.
Yeah.
But Elite Dangerous didn't do that. That's what I'm saying. This is what I mean. Elite Dangerous didn't have to do that stuff.
Well, this is the thing about this game, is that I've never really felt like I was playing a space simulator than playing Star Citizen. I've never felt it as much as I do with Star Citizen. I really feel immersed. I feel like I'm actually there. It's the way they've done it. It's so good, and all they really need to do now is deliver what they've promised they were going to deliver, and have enough of a variety with their space stations and you know, whatever we go location wise to see, and that's it. You know, there's going to be enough to do. It's just the variety.
I'm also gonna. I got to play devil's advocate. That's kind of what I guess. I also wonder who the game's for, and what I mean by that is I don't mean the genre, right? The genre is, I know what the genre is, but to run this thing, you're gonna need what? A high-end PC.
Well, they're trying to optimize it down. I mean, don't forget, I've got two 1070 Ti's GTX, right? And I've got a Ryzen 7 Series 1 CPU chip and 32 gigs of RAM. I can play the game.
To what level?
With the graphics on medium, and they look impressive, and I get 30 frames a second at the moment. I can't SLI my graphics card, so I can't have two working at the same time because it's technically a program, not an official game executable. If it's changed, then let us know, people, in the comments. But as far as I understand it at the moment, it's a program executable, which means that there's some kind of limitation about graphics and stuff. But yeah, I get a steady 30 frames a second, and I have fun. I can do, you know, I can play the game essentially. So they are optimizing down, and with each new patch they improve things and stuff. So I fully expect it to be on consoles at some point in the future. So
I'd just be slightly concerned, and it is just a concern. Like I say, I haven't played it like you have. The concern would be is that it's only going to be played by kind of 10% of people who have got amazing PCs, and then you have to pay that, and then you have to pay that. It feels that way a little bit. The fact that they actually are offering these packages for 10 grand, did you say? And that there might be even more.
That's at the ridiculous upper end, though.
I'm just a little bit concerned that maybe that they're not that they're after whales. I don't think it's like that. I don't mean it that way. I just mean it like maybe only 20% of people are going to be able to play this game because the finances involved, having the good PC, which we know some people do, the PC master race and all that stuff, but a lot of gamers don't. I don't, for example. So it would have to drop down to consoles, I think, for it to be really to get mass appeal, which I assume that's what they want.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. They don't want it to be for the rich people. Of course not. They want it to be as far-reaching as possible. I mean, you can get game packages that start at 40, 50 quid, and which is what I ended up investing in initially, and then I spent another sort of 70 on top, sort of upgrading my ship, etc. But that was my choice. I didn't have to do that. I could have sort of quite easily have played the game quite happily, and started saving up money in game to buy the new ships and stuff. So yeah, no, they I don't think that's what they want.
Do you think they should be selling ships, Pete?
No,
I don't.
Not at this stage.
What about earning the ships by playing the game?
Oh, you can do that. Yeah. I mean, there's a ship that I want right now, which is like 12 million or something, 16 million.
And how much to buy that in real money?
About a couple hundred.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
This
I
to me.
understand why it's there. I don't like it, and I want them to complete the game before they start doing this sort of
My
thing.
point is, I'll just say it one more time. The point is, I wouldn't take this from a lot of the other shitty games, right, that we've panned for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So just because this game is for a genre I like and might look impressive, doesn't mean they should be doing this, and they shouldn't be called out for this bullshit, because I think it's shitty.
Oh no, I'll call them out on it, definitely. You know, there's like a special thing that they release, sort of, you know, like the ship updates and what they're doing with certain ships and stuff. It's like, guys, cool it with the ship designs. Right, you just finish the fucking game first.
That's what I mean.
That is a genuine criticism.
And it is, yeah, and it's just, yeah, finish your game first before you start worrying about more money.
Yeah. Now, my brother agrees, absolutely. We've spoken at length about it. We've had some great adventures, me and my brother. We've had some fucking great times, like really hilarious times. And we've both felt so utterly immersed in this game. You know, the fact that you can sort of run around the space station, going to the refinery and, you know, going to eat and, you know, just shit like that. It's just absolutely brilliant. And I want it to succeed. I want it to work because I want you to join us. I want you to have fun with it. And I hope that comes sooner rather than later.
Mate, if I put it on my PC, I'd get 2 frames per second on it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I hope it comes eventually to consoles, or by that point you'll have a new PC and stuff. So, you know...
it might come out before the next generation of... It might come out before the next generation of consoles.
It's a very hazy might.
Which is what 2027 or 28, whatever it's meant to be.
Yeah. I don't expect the game to be out, you know, like years before then. But like, yeah, I mean, it would be nice if they did. But I think it would be a hell of a lot more complete than it is now. We'll have multiple star systems. Hopefully they'll integrate the 3 that they're planning to bring in.
This Project 77 or whatever it is that being released then? If you're saying it's done, are they going to release that first?
Well, all indicators point to the fact that it's Squadron 42, by the way.
What did I say? Something 77?
Project 77.
Project 77, whatever that is.
Fuck that is.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what their plans are with that. They're probably going to release that separately, which, you know, a lot of people are going to play that.
And that's just a single player game then? Is that set in the same universe then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It does look impressive, that single player game, I won't lie. But it's just a question of...
Is it just mission based then, or what?
I don't know. I haven't really paid much attention to it as I have with the persistent universe, and that's the side that I want to work and spend my time in, which is crazy because I'm a fan of single player games. So I don't know.
No, I understand. I'd rather that. So am I. But I'd also the persistent stuff. I'd be more interested in as well.
And I got to be honest, dude. The player base for the persistent universe are so lovely. They're generous people. There'll be people that, I mean, like I remember running through a space station, and I had this guy come up to me and say, "Oh, do you want some money?" And he gave me like 5 million just off that. Just like, yeah, here's some money, and he just ran off. And everyone that I've spoken to in the chat is really lovely. I made a couple of friends on that platform and stuff like that. It's just, I haven't come across an arsehole, basically. I'm not saying there aren't any, but, you know, it just seems like a community of people that wants this to work. And, you know, yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I'm going to throw up some visuals of the game.
Yeah.
And also you'll be able to see the stuff that they're planning to bring in as well. So yeah, that's probably going to be it for this episode. What do you guys think? Do you think that it's a scam, or do you think it's actually going to work?
Last thing I'll say is no, I don't think it's a scam. I've been negative towards it because I don't like the business practices. It could be any game you're telling me about, so it's nothing. Any game you were telling me about with these, I don't agree with the business practice, but I don't think it's a scam. I actually think the game will eventually come out.
Yeah,
I think it will. So
they've gone past the point of no return, and in that they have to sort of release something now. I think otherwise, they'll face, they'll be bankrupt into oblivion if they
God,
don't.
you can imagine the amount of if that were to happen, dude. Jesus.
Yeah. Chris Roberts is going to have to go and hide in a cave.
Well, he would have to.
the
Yeah,
rest
he
of his
literally
life.
couldn't show his face again.
Yeah, we'll commit harikiri.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, sorry it's been a wait for this new podcast. We're in the midst of experiencing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and yeah, I've come across some information I didn't want to discover, but accidentally did.
Don't you tell me. I don't want to
And
know.
no, yeah, I won't, of course. But no, I'm really annoyed that I accidentally stumbled across it. But hey ho, never mind. Okay, everyone. Until the next episode, we will see you later. Take care. Bye now.